Okay, hello again, everybody. Let's keep going through our discussion of linear equations. And this time, we're being told, let's find the equation of a line that passes through the points 0, -2 is 0.1, and -3, 2 is 0.2. And it doesn't look like we necessarily have enough information, but what two pieces of information did we need? Well, that's right. Anytime I ask you, what two pieces of information do we need to find the equation of a line, you should be telling me we need a slope and we need a point. As long as we've got those two pieces of information, we can always write the equation of the line. Well, what do we have? Well, we definitely have a point. In fact, we have 2 points. Slope, well, even though we're not given the slope, we can find the slope. This time we're going to have to do a little extra work to find it. So let's go ahead and substitute it into our slope formula. We're going to take the difference between our y values, that's 2, and we're going to subtract away from that -2. Always be very careful of your signs. That's usually one of the biggest places where people have trouble. And since we took the 2 from point number 2, we're going to take -3 from point number 2, and we're going to subtract from that 0 from point number 1. And working through our number very quickly, very easily, we've got 2 plus 2 divided by -3. And that turns into the fraction 4 over -3. But we'll write it as the negative of 4/3. So now we've got a slope, and now we've got a point. Let's use point number 1, 0, -2. Now, this may or may not occur to you right away, but this is a familiar point, right? Now, one way that we could get the equation of the line is using the point-slope form, which is to say y minus y1, which is -2, is equal to the slope, in this case the fraction -4/3, divided by x minus x1, which is 0. And a little simplification reveals that we have y plus 2 is equal to the fraction -4/3 times x, and subtracting 2 from both sides would reveal y is equal to -4/3 x minus 2. But this might have been obvious from the beginning, because this is indeed a line with a slope of -4/3 that passes through the y-intercept at 0, -2. That's right, this is our y-intercept. So if you wanted to just apply the formula y equals mx plus b, you should find the same thing. As an exercise in your notes, what you should do is to take the second point. So use the point -3, 2 instead of the point -2, 0, and verify you get the same equation. This will be a really good exercise for you seeing how this formula actually works out. All right, but let's keep going. Let's apply all of this. Let's say that we're in a business, right? Economics business, they actually use linear equations all the time. Here's one. Suppose a manufacturer has determined that at a price of $115, consumers will purchase 1 million portable music players, and that at a price of $90, the consumers will purchase 1.25 million portable music players. It says, describe this situation with a linear function. Well, what do we need? That means we need a slope and a point. How do we get it? Well, we have to have 2 points at least, like we did in the last problem. Well, let's set it up. Let's put price over here, right? Because we want to know what happens when we set a certain price, and then we're going to set our price in dollars, of course, not euros or yen or anything else. And we're going to put our demand, which is the amount that people are willing to buy for that price. And we said if we had a price of $115, that 1 million would buy our product. And if we set it at $90, we said 1.25 million might buy our product. And the question, of course, is, well, what happens if we set it at $80? Right? How do we figure that out? Well, what we're going to do, probably the best way, it says use this to describe a linear function, right? Because what if we didn't want 80? What if we wanted $89.95 instead? How would that work out? Well, let's see if we can do some prediction right here. These are in fact x and y coordinate points. For lack of this, we're saying 1 million right here, and of course we're saying 1.25 million right here. So whatever number we find is going to be in millions when we come over here. So we'll keep that as a unit when we're doing this. But we're saying we've got the point 115, comma 1 as one of our coordinate points, and we've got the point 90 and 1.25 is one of our points. So we want to find the equation of this line. That means we need to find a slope. So we're going to take our 2 points that we know, and we're going to take 1.25 and subtract away 1 and divide that by 90 minus 115. So if we've carried through our math correctly, we're here going to find the following, that our slope is 0.25 divided by negative 25. Well, that's sort of an interesting thing to happen. What does we mean by 0.25 divided by 25? Well, if we want a decimal, which we probably should in this case, we're going to have to change things a little bit. And that means, well, we're going to get a negative number, first of all. But secondly, well, what do we multiply by 25 to give us 100? Right? Because if we want a decimal, we want something over 10 or 100. Well, to get 100, we have to multiply by 4. So that means we're going to have to multiply this by 4 as well. And if we take 0.25 times 4, we know we get 1. So we multiply the numerator and denominator by the same number, and we get 1/100th. And as a decimal, we know that to be negative 0.01. So if we're filling in our formula, we can use either one of our 2 points in the point slope form. But let's go ahead and let's use the first one right here. So let's use this guy and find out what happens. So we're going to take y minus 1, which is the given y value, will equal our slope, in this case negative 0.01, times x minus 115. All right, let's do a little distributive property right here. Of course, y minus 1 then will equal negative 0.01 times x. And then taking negative times a negative, that's going to give us a plus. 0.01 times 115 gives us the same thing as 1.15. Just shifting that decimal over twice. Now we're going to add 1 to both sides. Plus 1 gives us y is equal to negative 0.01x plus 2.15. Right? So that's our formula right here. So the question was, well, what happens when x is $80? Well, let's work it out. We're going to take y equal to negative 0.01 times, in this case, 80, and we're going to add to that 2.15. Right? Negative 0.01 times 80 is the same thing as saying negative 0.8 plus 2.15. Right? And if we do some of the work right here, we're going to find that y is equal to 1.35. Right? So that means that at $80, if we set our price at $80, we should expect to be able to sell 1.35 million with this model. That's a lot of portable music players out there.